Welcome back to Conversations with Creators. I am Rick Clifton, and today I am sitting down with Bonvida, the visionary behind the upcoming horror film The Night Boys, and Leslie A. Jones, who is also an executive producer and a star in the film. Actually, let me say that he is the star of the film. Kind of a standout for me. And we all three actually recently met at HorrorCon LA, and I'm super excited that they are here to talk to me about this film today.
Oh, you speaking about unity, right? I'm trying to get put on. I'm ready. Come on. Y'all gonna take a little ride. Your savior.
Aren't you that one guy from the liquor store? I'm Lily, by the way.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the film. We'll talk a little bit about the creative process. We're going to talk a lot about the passion that goes into independent filmmaking, which is sort of what this series for me is all about. So I'm super excited, guys. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
You got it.
Thank you for having us, Rick.
You got it. So I'm going to start with the most important question today. Please tell us what this film is all about.
All right. So The Night Boyz is the story of two teenage half vampires who are on a mission to retrieve the only weapon that can kill the head vampire before he go ahead and unite all of the gangs of LA into one big blood-sucking army. And it's all about the mission and, the story of the characters and things like that, all set in modern day LA. You got Bloods, Crips, werewolves, vampires, mythology, all these things. And yeah, you haven't seen vampires like these, man. They don't sparkle.
I love it. That's fantastic.
What did you say it was? Twilight meets the Hood or something like that?
Oh yeah, it's Twilight in the Hood.
Twilight in the Hood, yeah.
I saw that description in the materials you sent over, and I was like, they're not sparkling, so I'm good with that. So it's all good.
All right.
But you brought up a great point, something I actually wanted to talk about, and it's the fact that you're weaving through this movie some classic sort of vampire lore, but you're doing it in a sort of a modern way. But you're also crossing a few genres as well. And I wonder if you guys could talk a little bit about the inspiration to tell this version of the vampire story and what drew you. More importantly, I want to talk about these half vampires and sort of how that works.
Well, I would say in this film, the lore with the half vampire is basically, once you're bitten, until you have your first kill, you are a half vampire. And so you can still run around in the daytime. You can still, do all these things, but you are driven by your hunger. You do still have strength. You do have sensitivity to light. But until you make your first kill, you're a half vampire. But once you do have that first kill, then all the rules apply, right? You can't be out in direct sunlight. And the stronger the vampire, the harder it is for daylight to kill them. Like the rising sun is what kills vampires in this film. And my favorite part is the wood that you use to kill the vampires. It has to be older than the vampire. So if you're a 2-week-old vampire, then yeah, any piece of wood can kill you. But if you're 200-300 years old, then most wood won't work on you. So that's why you have to find like an antique chair or go to the sequoias and find a 300 or 400-year-old tree, right? That is one of the favorite contributions I think we brought to it is the wood has to be older. But yeah,
I think that was one of my favorite things too. Like that one detail about the fact that the wood needs to be older than the vampire itself, which I thought was I loved it, and I love that that's what you brought to it, because I'm like, wait, does that exist in any other lore? And I was googling it, I was watching, like, it doesn't. So I was kind of curious, like, what you brought to the story and how you changed it, and that's one of my favorite little tidbits. So, Leslie, I want to talk a little bit about your character, if we can, and about your goal of uniting all the gangs into one big vampire army. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about sort of what your character's goals are and what he's after.
My character's goal is actually, as I'm thinking about that, it's so relevant now with the state of affairs that we're in as a country, with being run by, I'm not going to get into that, but you know what I'm saying. I'm going to just allude to what I'm saying. My character, what drove me and directly to this film was the writing, because it spanned across genres in history: slavery, Black Wall Street, civil rights movement, up till present day. And the common thread through that is that people were getting jerked over, especially Black people, through all of those centuries. People were, oppressed. And this was the premise of getting the gangs together to overthrow the things that the vampire had seen from the time he got turned all the way to present day. He had seen the same oppression, same thing over and over. And now it's like time. Okay, we have the Crips, we have the Bloods, we have whatever other gangs that were out there. We're going to unite everything and we're going to just overthrow. This is going to be the real uprising. So, and you take the film, you think about the film, and you think about where we are as a country today. And I tell you, it's getting there. It's getting there, because people are starting to rise up and realize that, the only side is the only two sides is the oppressed and the oppressors.
Yeah. I love that, and I'll throw this to both of you a little. I do want to talk about that, but it was something that I sort of thought about a lot in watching this. It was hard to I don't know if hate is the word I'm looking for, but it's hard to be mad at this guy for wanting to build an army to sort of rise up against all of this oppression and everything he's been through. I'm like, I could kind of relate to that, and I think that's what makes a good bad guy, right? I guess, if you will. But I love it. Like, Bonvida, if you could talk a little bit about writing that and sort of where you were coming at it from, and sort of the building the story around that angle, because, like I said, it is very, as Leslie said, it's very relevant to sort of what's happening today.
Yeah, I mean, just piggybacking on what Leslie said. I mean, this character, the head vampire, he wasn't evil right away, right? His life was saved by a vampire, and over a lot of different circumstances throughout history, he just little by little was just chipping away. And then finally he just gives in, like, what, this world is just not good. And, the Leslie's portrayal in this one scene where he's standing by the fire and he's explaining why he, is doing what he's doing. He just says it. I tried and I tried. They just would not let me be at peace. And it kind of shows that, he's not a one-dimensional bad guy here. He didn't just wake up evil and just start the movie evil. You see the gradual, denigration or whatever of why this happened to him. And for me, it all starts with, just original down into the concrete of the, just down to the foundations of story where, your characters, your protagonist is not good unless you have a good antagonist. Your movie is nothing without a great villain, right? Or anti-hero or whatever. You look at Darth Vader, you look at Thanos, you look at, recently Killmonger. And if your bad guy is not good, then I don't think, the hero's any good either. And, we can talk about who's the hero in this film. There are many, but including, I think, the head vampire. But yeah, it just subconsciously, it was just written. It just came out of us when we were creating this project that, this will happen. This is history, and the oppressed and the oppressor. Whenever the oppressed outweigh the oppressor, then eventually they're going to rise up, topple things over until they themselves get into power, and then they become the oppressor. And it's just
absolutely
crazy cycle in history.
It's a cycle,
absolutely.
And yeah, it's just like what is that? The Orwell book? What is it? Animal Farm or whatever? And if you understand that, then you'll understand that, like, we gotta do something different here. And but yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, we got deep with it, and that's something that people didn't expect from this film.
Listen, I just watched an episode of Twilight Zone just last night, and it was about some South America army and the dictator there or whatever was just corrupt and killing people and yada yada yada. So the people rose up. They had their one leader, rose up, bam, took over this guy, executed him, whatever. And the last thing that the guy that was being the ruler that was being executed said was that you look in this mirror and you'll see people that are going to be standing up against you and try to assassinate you. And this mirror, every time this guy looked in this mirror, the guy that was now in charge, he looked at this mirror and he would see his closest comrades, with guns and this, that, and the third, ready to assassinate him. But these cats are having a drink and everything else, right? And what happens is eventually he kills them until he looks in the mirror and he sees himself, and he ends up killing himself because he was the only person that he had to rise up against, or that he would rise up against.
Have you heard that? Where's the crown?
Absolutely, absolutely,
exactly right.
And I was like, wow, it was so deep, man. But you guys saying that right now is that this whole cycle I believe that we're in right now in this country, it's going to shift. But you're right. There's going to be a new one that takes charge, and it's going to be gradually, because power is just it's a corrupt thing. If you don't use it right, and if you do use it right, you want more. If you do use it right, you do good things. But there's more and more and more and more.
You get a taste of it, and you just want more and more and more.
Yes, it always takes more and more and more. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
So, and I think you guys have both answered this a little bit, but I was just kind of curious, as this project sort of developed, how did, I mean, I feel like you already, like you did talk about it, but I'd love to know how sort of that premise or that idea changed. Like when did you start this film and how long did it take to make? And I think that'll sort of talk about like what's happened in the world since then. And I want to kind of know sort of how.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it started during COVID, many years ago, right? So basically we're locked down in the house, there's nothing to do, we're going crazy, and it's like, you know what, we got to create. We got to get things going, and just what's the quote unquote easiest thing to produce? Horror films, right? So okay, let's start with a horror, vampires. Boom. Then went on a marathon, just watched all the, classic vampire movies, mostly the ones I grew up on, mainly Fright Night and Lost Boys, right? And, started with those, and, all the 80s horror films I was inspired by. Take a piece from here, a piece from there. Because what did Tarantino say? Good artists steal. So took a lot of elements from all these different films and applied that to our vision, and then basically when it comes to making a film, I learned this a long time ago. Everyone in Hollywood has a great idea. Everyone's idea is awesome. The problem is, can you execute that idea, right? But also raising the money to get these projects going. And I learned that, it's the business side of it. You really gotta take care of. And if you can't raise money for a film, that's the number one thing right there, right? So to switch over to the business side of it, it turned into me just reaching out to everyone in the world that I knew that, you know, was a little bit financially stable and asking everyone for an investment. And out of the 100 people I asked, 20 said yes. And out of those 20 people that said yes, I say about 12 of them were actually following through with emails and things. And then out of those 12 people, I'd say a good solid 6 people actually invested in this one. Right?
That's how it works.
Yeah.
You start with 100, you get down to like 3.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a numbers game, right?
Yeah.
And then it got to a point where it was either shit or get off the pot, right? Pardon my French, but it's like, okay, we have a little bit of money here. I have some money, and it's like, all right, well, we're not ready yet, but you just got to do it. And just
you're never going to be ready. If you're waiting for the
Yeah.
perfect day, it's never going to come. You just got to dive in, man.
Yeah.
So I love that.
And luckily, I wasn't like stuck on that mindset of, well, this has to be right, or I ain't doing it till this happens or that happens. You got to just go. And sometimes you need people around you to push you into to thinking like that. But then we started shooting, not knowing where the end was going to be. And then it got to a point where we probably shot about, I'd say 85% of the movie, and it was coming out incredible. There was just so much magic, so many stories I can tell you, but I don't know how to this day we did it, because everything worked out fine. All the miracles and things like that. Then we ran out of funds, and, you know, we had to shut down for about, you know, a good 6-7 months. And, you know, luckily we were rescued by the gracious and appreciative to him, Leslie A. Jones, who stepped in at the last minute and, you know, came in and executive produced the remainder of the film because he believed in it. He put his heart and soul into it just like we did. And we got it done. But man, just indie filmmaking at its finest, you know, calling in favors, you know, doing everything on shoestring budget. But I feel like it's better because it brings out the creativity in you. You have to do all these things that you don't have a budget for, and it just makes it all so much better. Utilizing your resources when you don't have any is challenging, but man, did it come out right, and it just feels much better.
Well, and you touched on a very important point. One of the things I love about independent filmmaking and small movie making is that it is a community project sometimes, right? You do have to kind of lean into the people around you to sort of bring this thing together. You also have to get very damn creative and how you use your resources. And so is a question I actually had for you guys about, were there any scenes or any sequences that you had to do that? Like you realized, oh, we've got to make some changes here, and a constraint or something ended up inspiring a better or a more inventive solution to that scene. Because God knows I've had a lot of them. So.
I have dozens. I don't know, Leslie, if you can remember one where you had to compromise.
You know, I don't really remember any scenes that I actually had to compromise in, because I went in with the intention of whatever we had to do. And so if we left anything out or whatever, or, you know, it was fine for me, because the only thing I wanted to do was put my best foot forward. However, there is a segment of the movie that the one I auditioned with, the Black Wall Street scenes, you know, that we didn't get a chance to do. And I wished we would have, you know, done that, because that would have definitely buttoned up everything. But it wasn't a loss because we did not, you know, it was still implied throughout, you know, so, which was cool, you know. But yeah, you know, hey, anytime I attach myself to any project, you know, I just try to go with the flow and give 110% of myself, you know, in any way, any capacity that I can, you know. So I wasn't disappointed, to say the least, you know.
One of the things I love in movies are practical effects, and you employ a lot of practical effects in this film, and it's one of the things I absolutely loved about it, like from the get-go. And I think I sort of fell in love with that when I met you guys at HorrorCon, because you had some of those effects in the booth with you when you were there, and we talked about it a little bit. And I think it was one of the things why I really wanted to sort of talk to you guys. I want to talk about your approach to that. Obviously, you're a fan of practical effects, and I just sort of want to know sort of what that was like for you, what that process was like in making this movie.
Hmm. Well, I have to say, Leslie took the lead with that when it came to the fangs, right? Mr. I know a guy. Leslie's That's Leslie's best line. Yeah, I know a guy. Yeah, he was all before we really got to know each other. Like when we were, getting further and further into the trenches together, he's always sliding in like, "Hey, I know a guy. I know a guy," and he ends up getting these amazing vampire fangs done. And I'm like, "Yo." He's like, "Yo, I know a guy, man. My dentist and all this stuff." Oh, man. So he starting with him on that part, right? But with the practical effects, it's like, you can't replicate filming things in camera, right? That's why I love practical effects. And I grew up, an 80s kid and watching The Thing of all movies and, American Werewolf in London and all those. Like when they do those effects in camera, you cannot, CGI cannot. We're not there yet. I don't think we'll ever get there. So always been a fan of practical effects just because it's imprinted in my DNA from a young kid, right? When it comes to the film, obviously we're super low budget and things like that. So we have to do things in camera anyways because we don't have the budget to do any CGI and things like that. And I don't know if I would have done it anyways, but that's the main reason for those decisions. But the best and worst part about it was, when you're doing low budget filmmaking, unfortunately you get what you pay for in a lot of instances. And, I won't name any names, but let's just say, I had people on the team that couldn't even do the basics when it came to makeup, right? And I'm like, you're working on a vampire film and you can't even, do vampire fangs. Like we're buying them off Amazon like it's Halloween. Like, can we at least make things look better? But, along the journey, one of my makeup artists was just up and coming and hungry and just, there 15 minutes, 30 minutes before everybody's on set and so eager. And I gave her a list of all these practical makeup effect shots that I wanted to do. And her eyes were just like, I can do all of that, please. And I'm like, all right, those days are coming. And man, I have to give a shout out to Lamont, our makeup artist. And she,
for sure.
He, from showing a guy with his guts ripped out to, we're drilling people's eyes and
oh my god, that scene.
And all those practical effects. I just loved it, man. And you can see her hunger in the work and dedication, where it got to a point where she's, I'm over here filming something. She's coming up to me, showing me pictures. And I'm like, look, now is not the time. Like, I'm busy right now. I got 75 things on my mind. But she's like, okay, I just want you to see it. I'm like, I know. But man, her persistency, her hunger is just incredible. And
her work was definitely.
And for the most part, there was a lot of people on this project that had that same passion. And like I said, we were very lucky to have her. But yeah, I mean, like I said, practical effects, you can't replicate it, man. It has to be done in camera. For example, The Thing, I'd say the best practical effects film of all time. And then you see the remake that they made decades later, millions of dollars more, way better technology, and they could not hold a candle to that.
It did have the same effect, right?
So not even. Yeah. And they CGI'd everything, and it is what it is, man. But
Leslie, I'll say those teeth you were wearing, man, they were spot on. They worked. I mean, the first time I saw them, at first they kind of disappeared a little bit behind, and then so were there two sets? I was kind of curious, or was it just you?
Just me. That's just the way I manipulated my mouth, because
I was curious about that because at some point they kind of came out and I'm like, well, that's kind of cool that now they're like out there, but
Yeah,
before they were
yeah.
kind of just like back there a little bit. And I wondered if that was like two sets of teeth that you were wearing, or if it's just in how
Right,
you.
right.
And of course, you being you, I'm not surprised that you have figured out how to make the move to make that happen. So
Shout out to my doctor, my dentist, man, Dr. Eduardo Falcone. Yeah,
Waldo
he's one of the
Falcone.
best, man.
We'll give
Sounds
him
like
a shout out.
sounds like a crime boss.
Yeah,
It's great.
yeah.
You know, one of the other things I loved about this film too, that I really wanted to talk about, were locations. And I think that first of all, there's the house. But there's also like you were in the desert and you were in the forest and all of that. So I'd love it if you could talk a little bit about filming in those locations and some of those challenges and you know, all of that a little bit.
Yeah.
But first, we got to talk about that damn house, because that house is amazing.
Yeah. Oh, we got lucky with the house. So, you know, my background is more producing and production management, things like that. So for 12 years, you know, I was a producer, still am, but so I learned throughout the years, you know, lighting and locations and your talent and your story are the major elements to a film. And if you don't have money, you best write your script as to reflect that, right? I'm not putting, you know, grand space battles and all these crazy things, you know, write what you can afford in a sense, but get creative with it. So I had to make sure we only had, you know, we were limited with the locations, but we made it seem like we had multiple location budgets and things like that. But so, you know, the major set pieces are obviously the house, the mansion, right? And then the warehouse, you know, Sequoia National Park, and, you know, the El Mirage Dry Lake. Those were things that were just, you know, one day go out there, take a skeleton crew and shoot, you know, guerrilla style. It got to a point where a park ranger knew what we were up to, and just he was trolling us, like just came up to us like, oh, that's a nice camera. And like we were so, you know, hidden with our intentions, and he still sniffed us out, right? He just comes up to us like, oh, that's a cool camera. Oh, that's nice. Taking some nice pictures, huh? And we're like, yeah, you know, And like he knew what we were doing. He was just trolling us. He knew we were some broke, starving artists. But yeah, with the mansion, it's funny because everything, like in filmmaking, man, everything always works out, because originally, you know, when you're on a shoestring budget, we were limited with what we can choose. So we're on Craigslist, we're on, you know, Peerspace and all these things, trying to get the cheapest place. We ended up going with this house in Pasadena that was used for American Horror Story, and I fell in love with this place, right? I'm like, oh man, this place is great. Oh, it's the same house, blah, 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 blah. Like, and then, you know, we had to delay production by about probably 6 months and come back, and the lady's not there anymore, and they tripled the price. And it was just like,
man.
Oh yeah. And we ended up losing the location. And then my DP was just like, hey, I shot at this house here, check it out. And I'm like, this is too good to be true. It was like 1/10 of the price. And the owner was super awesome. Like we went in there and it was just like, oh my God. And it got to a point where this house had hidden bookshelves, hidden tunnels, elevators in the floor. Like it had a giant bank vault in the basement. Like all these things that I'm just walking through doing a location scout. Like, okay, I'm writing a scene here. I'm changing this scene to here. Like, so I ended up like rewriting like, you know, an entire sequence of the film based on the toys that this mansion was giving me. And it was just all luck, right? And it's just, you know, one of those creative things that, you know, you think on your feet and you move as you go along. But that mansion, oh my God, it was just incredible. And
yeah, it was definitely, yeah,
it's a real treat for the audience for this with the story as well.
Oh, for sure, man. I mean, it was like it was so great. Like the elevator that came up out of the floor and then went back.
Yeah.
I got to be careful. I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but the bank vault and all of that. So, I mean, those were. I was like, where the hell is this house? I need to go. It's awesome. It was great.
Dude, that place was creepy. It was creepy.
Yeah, it was not written, and yeah, we, like I said, we got really lucky, man. And you know, if you have that eye, and you know, all credit to my DP. He you know, he's a director's eyes. You know, a lot of the work. You know, shout out to Justin Nodell. Amazing DP, man. And DPs don't get a lot of credit these days unless you're Roger Deakins, but this he's on his way. So
it was great, great cinematography. So big shout out, Justin, for sure. So this is sort of the industry overall kind of question for you guys. I'd love to it's kind of something I always love to sort of talk about a little bit. From your perspective, why do you feel like indie filmmaking is important? Like, everybody, sure, they want the studio deal, they want the money and everything that comes along with that. But at the same time, there's something special for me anyway about indie filmmaking. And I'd love to know sort of what makes it important to you, and what do you think that creators and audiences can do to kind of keep that space alive?
That's a great question. I know for me, making indie films, you have the freedom. Even though everything is on a time constraint, you still have the freedom to really create, and you're not restricted, you're not honed in and by the money and the just the Hollywood go, but just cookie cutter stuff. I think that anyone that has a story should definitely try to tell that story, because it may be a story that hasn't been written and is not diluted and whatever. And as an independent artist, you do what you want. You're not bound to that studio confinement. The money. Everything of these days are about the money, but now it's about AI. So I think we as independent filmmakers need to keep the truth and the realism behind what we're doing. And the effort to tell real stories with real people, and without the Hollywood budget kicking you around telling you can't.
Absolutely. And I feel independent filmmaking will always be there, and it's just only going to get even more impressive because of access to resources now. It's at the point now where you can shoot entire film with your iPhone.
With your phone, yeah.
And you can learn on YouTube how to make a film. We ran out of funds, and I, couldn't afford an editor. So what did I do? I went on YouTube, I learned how to cut, and I ended up, cutting my entire film and taught myself how to edit within, 2-3 weeks. I'm not a master at it, but hey, you saw the finished product, and that's from a first-time editor who didn't know what he was doing, a few months before that. So with technology, it's just, everyone has a paintbrush now. Everyone has a canvas, and and if you can see, if you can go to Broadway and see all these one stage plays and things like that, people tell stories with one location. You can tell a story with one location and a camera, right? Just like Tarantino did with Reservoir Dogs, right? But I have to say, when it comes to indie filmmaking, it's just getting harder and harder now for the quote unquote industry to control things now, because you have YouTube, you have technology where you can just shoot your own film, upload it, and build your own audience. And nowadays all you need is about a good 2,000-3,000 people now to just go to your website and pay for your film, and now you're being able to finance your future projects. So you don't need the major distribution anymore. And I have to say, Cord Jefferson, he was the screenplay writer for this movie called American Fiction that won, best screenplay at the Academy Awards. And his Academy Award acceptance speech was incredible. He said, look what this, I think it was a $2 million movie can do, but yet you choose to make these $150 million movies. You could have made 75 of these movies. And 5 of them are going to hit. So you're going to.
I remember that. Yeah.
He's like, you could make 75 of these movies with the budgets you're doing for one movie, and 5 of those 75 movies are going to hit. So I don't understand why we're not doing that. So that is one of the questions that I really feel like should be answered. And I don't want to hear it saturated. I mean, there's thousands of movies coming out every year. So the cream is going to rise to the top, right?
Absolutely.
But again, it's getting to the point now where indie filmmakers are not, they're just going to do things on their own. And if the studios don't get behind it, they're going to lose, and they're already losing, right? They're consolidating and things of that nature. And, you know, just everything's in a cycle, right? It's just, it's just gonna go around and around.
Yep.
You know, you know, the YouTubers are going to take over, and the industry is already too late on it, because now they're trying to give all these TikTokers and streamers, you know, big film deals, and it's getting to the point now where they're going to be saying no, because it's like, I have my own audience. Why do I need you? You know, I can shoot a film about nothing at the park right here, and it's going to get 2 million views just because of my name. Right. So, you know, we're in a transition period like we were, you know, back in 2010 when everything was converting digital. I feel like it's the same thing with technology and access to projects and things like that. So the rules are being rewritten. So hopefully I can ride that wave and stay ahead of the curve as well. So that's why I'm constantly learning every day.
I'm sorry for cutting you off. I just want to go ahead, finish your thought. I want to
I'm done.
you though.
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm finished.
Well, you know, what you were saying is I totally believe in. Right now, and I'm involved in a project called Chance Encounter, and it's an indie film, and I also have my own app, you know, which is called LJ Presents. Now, on this app, I am now having abilities to stream, and I'm not talking about just live stream. I'm talking about streaming movies like Netflix and Hulu and Roku and all of those, you know, and with my film, this was going to be my first project. I'm going to put that out there along with a couple of other things that I've already done, like one-man shows and stuff like that, and draw my audience, my Facebook and Instagram audience to the site. Because also on the site, I offer the indie music. I play nothing. I have a radio station that I play nothing but indie artists on, and I promote their stuff. You know, now mind you, I'm not making any money off of promoting them stuff, but the fact is that these bands, they should be mainstream because they're that good. You know, they just need exposure. You know, so me being a musician, this is what I do. I get these guys to upload some songs, you know, give them to me, I'll upload, and I'll feature them, do radio shows and have them on the show and talk about their music and this, that, and the third, you know. So I'm hoping
you're your own studio.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Love
absolutely. And I'm hoping that, you know, I do have like close to 2,000 followers and stuff on the app, and, you know, people from different countries like Germany, India, Africa, you know, a lot of people listen to this music, the radio station, and they come in and check out some of the stuff that I'm doing, because I post that stuff as well. Some of the things that I'm doing, like this will be posted once you finish, you know, and, you know, so I'll drive them to the site, you know, hey, check out the interview we just did, podcast, yada, yada, yada. But I'm saying this to say all that I feel personally that each and every one of us in a creative capacity should probably have our own apps instead of relying on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, you know, because they're making money off of us. We're not really making too much off of them. You know, so, you know, and I plan on being self-contained with my own app. And this is why I have my own app, you know, so I can drive, you know, money and funds, you know, to myself and cut out the middleman.
Yeah, and just to finish that point, just vertical integration, like the late, great Nipsey Hussle said, vertical integration, just like Apple and all these things where
absolutely.
You're shooting your own project. You're wearing your own clothing line. You're shooting at your restaurant. Like everything's all right there, and you know you're filming
self-contained.
One big commercial.
Just about to say the same thing. Yep. I'm not mad at that idea at all. I absolutely love that. And actually, I think I'm going to look into the app thing because I think that might be. I was kind of wondering for me what the next steps are, and I love that, Leslie. It's a great suggestion. I think I will look into it.
Leslie's been ahead of the curve.
He knows the guy.
Man, you know,
he knows the guy.
He knows the guy.
I may be ahead of the curve. It's not making me a ton of money yet, but that, you know, but it's all good though. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. You know, people know about it. You know, download the app. You know, you'll see it's you know, you can poke around there and find out different things about me. I've got a full bio and everything on it. You can click on, it's interactive. You can click on IMDb. You can click on everything, Facebook, Instagram, just by looking at my bio, and bam, the icons are up there. You can, you can work around in there. So yeah, so I do believe that my app is definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with, in the near future, because it's been like almost like 2 years doing it, and it's starting to gain some traction. So yeah.
Well, I'm excited to check it out. So, all right, question for each of you. You can decide who answers first, and we're going to go back to the film for a second. This is a question, my favorite question of the day. What is a moment in the film that you're most excited for audiences to see? But before either of you answer, I get to tell you mine.
Okay. All right.
And I'm going to do this very, very coded because I don't want to give anything away. I'm trying to remain spoiler free because it comes at the end of the movie. But it's the big reveal at the end of the movie of who a certain character's father is. And we'll leave it at that. So that's my favorite moment that I thought I had it figured out, and I was like, what the fuck? So, yeah. Okay.
Nice. And it's funny because if you went to the premiere, that scene, the audio was so bad that the music was too loud and you couldn't hear what the character's monologue was. So the audience, they all didn't get to, they couldn't hear it. Yeah, it was so bad. And it was just like, no, I'm like, they're not going to get it. But luckily we did fix it. And now you can hear what the truths are. But Leslie, I'll let you answer that first. I gotta think on
it. yeah, he kind of clouded my mind with that one because that was a good one too, man. But yeah, I think I want to say one of mine. I've got a couple really, man. One was the fight between the ghouls,
yes.
myself and the werewolf and stuff,
Oh yeah.
And because I thought in my mind, I was like, you know what, this is gonna be so smooth. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just that little thing, and then. I mean, there's a lot of little good ones, man. A lot of little good things that happened. But I want to say one of my most poignant ones was finding out that, I think, I think that was a real poignant thing there.
We might have to bleep that.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. I will.
Yeah,
I won't edit it out. I won't edit it out. I'll just do a thing over it.
I was like, oh, spoiler alert. Here it is. But honestly, that was one of the most heartfelt.
Oh my God, yeah. I've gotten some feedback about that, about your acting in that scene, your eyes, the rage in that scene was so incredible, so intense that it actually is the main image of the new poster that we just designed.
Oh, so right on, man.
You know what I mean? So and Rick, I'm sure you remember it, his reaction to that. And the way
it's one of the reasons why I love that moment. I mean, not just from the surprise factor of it, but the emotion around it for me.
And that was so powerful that it literally is now the new face of the poster. When we premiered the new poster for the film. To answer your question about favorite moment, for me, it's two-sided because it's from not only as the writer, but the director of the film, and then from the story-wise as well. Like Leslie said, there's so many amazing parts of the film. I would say for me was early on in filming when we're doing the speech. The head vampire, he gives this profound, amazing speech to his army, and it's similar to, it's inspired by the Warriors, right? Can you dig it and all that. And when we were filming that scene, it was more of like on the script, it's real quick. Head vampire gives a speech, And so me and Leslie are scrambling, not scrambling, but we're like improvising. Like, oh, so what should we talk about? I'm like, talk about whatever you want. No, that's not good enough. I need some. Come on, give me some pointers. Don't be lazy, because I had so much going on. You know, I'm location manager, I'm producing, I'm this, I'm that, and also directing. I'm like, oh, can you just do? I need you on the scene. All right, I got you. So we sat down and we hashed it out. And man, he did not deliver. And watching my words, our words being filmed and coming together and watching it on the monitor, it really got me emotional. It really got me, very, very, just in that moment, because you spend so much time, and to actually finally see the words become life, it's just, it's like watching a child being born, right? But I know I'm being dramatic right now, but it's like that. It's just powerful stuff. And that to me was my favorite moment, because it was a small moment, but just seeing everything come to light and being present at that moment, because, when you're producing and directing, you're not ever in the moment. You're always thinking ahead, or thinking what, in the past, right? Because if you're in the past, that's depression. If you're thinking in the future, that's anxiety. So you rarely have time to be present. And that was the first time in weeks that I got to be present. And that to me is my favorite moment, when he's giving that powerful speech. So it just had multiple meanings for me, so not only from the story, but just, from behind the scenes perspective as well. So.
Wow, you're giving me chills right now, man, because I can remember that speech, man.
Yeah.
Same. I'm like, Jesus, I'm glad you went last.
Yeah.
I'm glad you went last, because there's no way I could have followed that up. That's pretty great.
No, we're good, man.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, that was a good moment, man. That was a strong moment for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, that came from heart and soul too, because that came from all want and need, and what my mission was, and everything else, man. And it's like I put what I could, 110% into that speech and delivering it,
It shows.
And,
And the thing about it is, like, from what little acting experience I have, what I can also feel is, like, as an actor, when you're doing a scene, when you first start shooting, it's like you're there, but like you're warming up still, even though you did rehearsals. And then when you're in it and you're in it and you're in it, and then when it's like toward the end of, all right, we got it, but like you're finally there in that moment, and it's like you just want to keep going. And like, so when I'm cutting and editing, I can see it, right? Like I can see the first few takes versus the last few takes, and you're here, and then in the last few takes you're here, and it's just like, man. So I got to, I had the privilege of seeing that whole spectrum of just where you were in all these different times. So it's like hard to cut from this angle to that angle to this angle, because at this angle you're here, you're at 100%, and at the other angle you're at 110, right? So it's just amazing, man. And that's one of my few things I can say I relate to as an actor, because certain scenes that I did as well, I can tell that you're always there toward the end of shooting that scene versus the beginning of the scene. So one of those little tidbits.
Right. Yeah, that's cool.
So for the audience members here that want to support this film, what's the best way to do that?
We are there. We have a distributor. We are set to stream on Fox Soul as well as premiere on Tubi. So I'm sure if you go right now to Tubi and type in The Night Boyz, it is streaming. If you stream from our website as well, the link is there, TheNightBoyzMovie at gmail.com. Boys spelt with a Z. Also, all of our socials, everything is The Night Boyz with a Z. So all you have to do is Google us or go to Tubi. You can see it there streaming live right now. And the way to support is just talk about it. And all I can say is take the time out to watch it. You're going to like it. You're going to love it. I'm confident enough to say that, we've had 2 screenings, one in Beverly Hills, one in Massachusetts. And, we had, an audience full of people. Not one person took out their phones. Not one person was
I
killed.
love it.
You know, everyone was engaged.
That's hard.
Yeah.
That was a good
And-
barometer, too. That was very
Yep.
good barometer.
it gives me the confidence to say that as well, right? I mean, everyone was cheering when they were supposed to be cheering. Everybody was, rooting
Right.
for it and all that. So, but yeah, definitely check everything out. Everything where the Night Boyz. You just Google it, all the socials, everything. You'll find it there at TheNightBoyzMovie. But yeah,
I'll put it up on screen too. On the video version, I'll have it on screen and I'll have it in the show notes. So I'll make sure I have all that detail out there for you. So
Right on.
all right, cool. Well, guys, I can't thank you enough for being here today to talk to me about this film. I absolutely loved it. Like I said, I met you guys a year ago and I haven't forgotten this thing. And I was super excited that it came around again. And I'm excited to see where this film goes, but more importantly, I'm just fucking inspired by you two. I mean, going into this conversation, I was like, I'm excited to talk to you, but after talking to you, I'm just like, I want to go make a movie now. So, I mean,
I went through a brick wall,
Hey,
right?
I'm still
So-
available to act, man. So if you want to make a movie, come on, bring it on, brother.
Yeah, I mean, we could do a sneak peek for Night Boyz too. We got the concept going.
oh, I love that. That's fantastic. So
Yeah, I'm sure Leslie's gonna be excited to hear about it because
Oh yeah.
I haven't touched on it, but spoiler free. But I've been delving deep into the Frankenstein world, and that's going to be one of the main stories of Night Boyz 2. A hood Frankenstein movie. How about that, right? With vampires in it, and since we're bringing back the dead, hence any character in Night Boyz who's dead may not be dead anymore. Who knows, right?
all right.
And so that's where we're at with that. So a little sneak peek on that. We are, developing Night Boyz 2 now, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, we're ready to keep it going, man. So
Right on.
Well,
right on.
I'm tuned in and I'm excited for it. So
awesome.
Well, thank you both for your time today. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Like I said, you've inspired me, and I'm super excited to see what happens with this film. And I've been a fan for a while now, and will continue to be. So,
Awesome. Appreciate you, Rick. Salute to
Thank
you
you,
guys.
Rick.
all
And
right.
for all
Yes,
those that
sir.
are watching, don't give up. And just keep working, man. Stay focused, and just understand nobody cares. Just keep going.
Yep. Get it
Just
done. Get it done.
There's no right way to do it. It's like, how do you make $1 million? I can give you 10,000 different answers. It's the same thing with making a film. Do what works for you. Don't listen to people's mistakes and wisdom, but just do what you want to do, man, because nobody can do it like you. So
Exactly.
keep going, keep rising.
1,000%.
All
All right, guys. We'll see you next time, and have a good one. Cheers.
Hey, thanks for having us, man.
You got it.
All right.